so this is the Jack Studio Theatre. We're upstairs in the rehearsals room. This is our set for Oliver Reed Wild Thing, which is a pub.
A great British pub.
A great British pub, and also the pub in Valletta in Malta, which was where Ollie drank his last session. I think people of my generation have this recollection of Oliver Reed being this sort of rather shambolic drunk on chat shows. People of my parents' generation, who were watching films in the 50s, 60s and 70s, have this remembrance of this extraordinarily magnetic movie star. And then there was this sort of bit in the middle that was a bit missing, and he's this incredibly intelligent, articulate, frustrating man, and it was a character that really stuck with us. It really fascinated us.
What Rob does brilliantly, and the way Kate has directed this superbly, is that it builds over time, and you get that real sense of being in the company of a drunk, but of a man who likes drinking and who's telling his life story, and it just building and building.
The story is relevant now because I think there is a sort of period of reassessment constantly, and there's a sort of churn of people looking at the way previous generations have behaved. And I think particularly now with the Olympics and the Jubilee, perhaps people are examining notions of Britishness and Englishness and what that means. And I think Oliver Reed was a very defiant and proud Englishman in the generation that immediately followed the breakup of the empire. So he's a post-colonialist, he's a post-feminist. I mean, he's not a post-feminist, but he lived in a post-feminist world. And his struggles with society, such that they were, is indicative of both of those things. He was rubbing up against a new world order, and I think we've now got sufficient distance from that time to be able to look at it and reevaluate it.
I once invited 45 members of my local rugby club back to my house. We consume a 50-gallon keg of beer, 32 bottles of scotch, 17 bottles of gin, 4 crates of wine, 15 dozen bottles of Newcastle brown ale. We then go for a cross-country run, naked.
Go along to have a really entertaining hour in the presence of a kind of a character that you probably know a little bit about, but not that much. And this is a kind of a chance to spend time in this great person's company, but also find out so much about him that perhaps you never knew.
I think Robert Sellers, who's a biographer of Ollie and wrote a book called Hellraisers, he said that he thought it would be a great first view of Oliver Reed for someone that never heard of him, and a really satisfying experience for people that were fans of his. So I think I'd say that even if you've never heard of Oliver Reed, it's a really enjoyable way to spend an hour. If you know Oliver Reed and care about his work, it will please you.
I'm Oliver Reed from Wimbledon! I'd say to anyone I met, I outdrank, outspoke and outpunched everyone.